Hello, everyone. Today is a very special episode of the Experience Miracles podcast because we are flipping the script and putting Dr. Tony in the hot seat. My name is Dr. Morgan, and I am the producer of this podcast. But beyond that, I've also had the honor to be mentored by Dr. Tony and to work alongside him and the team at PwC Chiropractic. And it has really been such a huge blessing to learn from him clinically. If you've listened to the podcast at all, you know he's a true genius and also a genius at communicating, chiropractic. But since my chair has literally been to his right side for about 4 years at the doctor's table, I've had a front row seat to a whole lot of personality and a lot more laughs. And while I wish we could bring you guys in on those doctor meetings, today we thought we would celebrate because this is our 100th episode. We thought what better way to mark a milestone than to also let you guys get to know him, the man behind the miracles. So today we're asking your questions, probably throwing him a few curveballs, got to make him sweat a little bit, and uncovering stories maybe I've never even heard before. So if you ever wondered what makes Dr. Tony tick, or if you just need a really good laugh today, come hang out with us in this episode. All right, Dr. Tony, are you ready?
No, I said yes ahead of recording, but now that we're actually recording, I am sympathetic, dominant, vagus nerve suppressed, nervous right now. There you go. That's my answer.
I was going to say, do you think that our listeners are going easy on you, or do you think they're going to throw you some hard ones?
I think because I've been probably a bit too, real life with my Iowa background and all the things, I think they're going to throw me some hard ones, and I think they're going to throw me some funny ones. And I'm ready for it / not ready for it.
Yeah, totally. And you'd be absolutely right. There's a really good mix of a lot of them. So we'll just get started and we'll dive in. And for the listeners out there, if you're not watching, I can see sweat beating up on Dr. Tony's forehead. Oh, you are so good at speaking and doing content, but sometimes I feel like when you turn to yourself and you have to talk about yourself, it's like, what do I say?
There's nothing more uncomfortable than talking about yourself. Well, except for listening to yourself. That is equally, that ties for you're like, who in the world, says that?
First question. We're going a little bit mushy to start out. So someone asked, and you've brought up Christina, your beautiful wife and business partner on the podcast many times, which is fantastic. They asked, how did you know that Christina was the one?
Oh, goodness. We are going mushy right off the bat. Is there a nervous system answer I can get away with here? Oh my gosh, that was actually easy. The moment I saw her, just her smiling, her energy, how immediately connected we were. Our values in life, family was everything to us. And so we met and have been together we met on a Monday night of all times, our senior year of undergrad. And I just immediately couldn't get enough of her. I was like, I might have been a bit much, Tony, too much, right out of the gates. And luckily it worked because it turns out she felt the same about me. So yes, instantly on a Monday night, within minutes, knew she was the one.
Hey, when you know, you know. And honestly, just to see you guys in your relationship together and have a whole business together, you're just the perfect match. You have the visionary, and then she's like, let's get it done. This is how we're going to do it. And this is why we're busting out to the 100th episode of the podcast.
Because if I don't get things done, Christina knows, and there's trouble to be had then. For sure.
As there should be. Okay, next. Someone asked, do you wear Expect Miracles shirts all the time because you don't know how to dress?
Yes, absolutely. It's just so much work to think about is this outfit, would this look good? Would I look professional? Is this trending? Do my kids think I'm cool? And my kids are never going to think I'm cool, no matter what angle I take. But no, I don't just wear Expect Miracles t-shirts. There's Hope Dealers. There's Experience Miracles. They're all the same t-shirt with a slightly different message to it. And people either think I'm a youth pastor or a pediatric chiropractor. And I think both are pretty rad, for Hope Dealing out into the world. So just the comfort, the fit, they're glorious.
It sure is. Yeah. I'm wearing one right now as well. But I need you to also tell the audience about your love for scratchy sweaters and turtlenecks.
Never. That's like wearing a bird, because I also despise birds. That would be like wearing a shirt made out of bird beaks, which I can't believe I just said that out loud. But yes, the sensory kid in me likes to be very comfortably, soft, lightweight materials dressed. And I can't say the word turtleneck, Morgan. I don't want it to come out of my mouth because it's just like, you just stop breathing. You just don't live in that.
That is so true. I'm with you on that one. Okay. This one's going for the jugular as far as your grades in school. They want to know, what is the lowest grade you ever got on an exam in school? Well, I want to know, is it undergrad? Is it chiropractic school?
Yeah. See, there's a pre and a post answer to this. Literally, before chiropractic, it's going to sound like a homer answer, but it's as true as the day is long. Before chiropractic, I didn't get that good of grades in school because I couldn't pay attention in class. I didn't remember to turn assignments in. I could sit I have pattern recognition brain, so I love testing, like standardized tests and ACTs and those things, like the final exams. That was always a breeze for me for whatever reason. But the other part of your grade is like turning things in on time and completing projects. And so I had to marry into completing projects. I was just kidding. And get that done. So in chiropractic school, I started getting adjusted a junior in undergrad. So my junior year was the inflection point. My senior year grades were all A's at Iowa State. And then Palmer, I got 1B+. And Dr. Richard Burns, I love you. You are actually my favorite teacher / I'll never not hold this grudge. And I've actually shared this story with him. Great mentor of mine. He taught our 10-credit adjusting class. He was the toughest professor I've ever had. And I know exactly why I missed it. And I went into his case and into his office, and I tried to make my case for that extra point, Morgan, to get me up to an A. And he simply said, "You should have done the adjustment better." And he was dead on right.
Yeah.
Dead on right. So 1B+ in chiropractic school, and still not over it. I got to go see Dr. Shrina probably and get some network emotional healing for this, but I'm riding.
Probably, yeah. I'm a little surprised at that one.
Yeah, Dr. Burns, love him.
Okay. Did you ever have imposter syndrome?
No. No, honestly, this podcast and this current version where God has us, I've shared this with you, and I don't know, maybe to some degree of fashion on the podcast, there's more pressure is the word. I've spent a lot of prayer and a lot of time journaling to kind of come up with this word. It's a different feeling than I've had in any other phases of my career. There's more responsibility because we are getting the message out to parents, and then we're busting our butts training the chiropractors to be at the highest level. But it's different when you are not directly related to the care. Even on our team, right? You work with us, like that's my team locally at the practice. So if a patient, if I'm putting the message out and then a patient comes into our clinic, I have more direct, ability to help that. And we still have an incredible direct ability through the certification program and everything else. But to the actual no, I just feel like God has blessed me so much with my father, Steve Ebel, my mentors, my Uncle Danny, everybody around me was just like, God made you in this way. Don't be more than you are, but don't also, but in the same breath, don't be less than you are. Step into your responsibilities with humility, but also with conviction and certainty. So I don't think I've ever had imposter syndrome. I've always just been me.
That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like that is, who we need to lead this mission. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned from you is like that conviction, that certainty, that passion. If you start to waver on that, then you're really not standing for anything. And that's why neurologically focused pediatric chiropractic has gone so far thus far. And we're just getting started.
Indeed.
Okay. Approximately how far away can you spot a subluxation?
Oh, miles. I think it's kind of like the weather. You grow up on a farm. Our house faced to the southwest. My dad literally built a house so we could see storms coming through. Funny pun intended, perfect storm, right? And just kidding on the miles. My eyesight, maybe in my 30s, I could have seen that far. Oh my gosh, though, picking my kids up from I still call it Sunday school, it's Willow kids. But you can see like a C2 because you can see head tilt. Then you can see the kiddo's neuro gait and coordination is a little bit wobbly and off. So that's a C2. You can see shoulder asymmetry asymmetry, that's a T2. They got pelvic torsion. You're like, that's sacrum is subluxated. So, I try to not, I'm watching Oliver's track meet and I'm like his teammates. I'm like, man, I could help that kid be way faster if I could adjust his TL junction. So I see it everywhere.
Yeah, you just don't see the world the same. It's like that's all you can dial in on is.
And you just see it because you want to get rid of it for said child, for said person to optimize their potential. It's not like you're seeing them like, oh, they're short. It's just like, man, if your nervous system just didn't have that subluxation, how much more awesome would life be? You always see that degree of it. It's like, if I can get rid of that for you, you could have this much more out of life, and really max it out.
Totally, which leads into the next question.
Uh-oh.
And this one is from me because I kind of know the answer, but I was going to say approximately how long does it take you to start talking about pediatric chiropractic when you are out in public?
0 second. I mean, I don't even try and talk. Like if I'll roll up to another dad or whatever and they're like, oh, golf this, or I don't even know. What else do people talk about? I'm trying to think of some other, weather. Or they're like, hey, did you see what's happening in the stock market? No, absolutely not. I haven't watched the news in an eternity. So it's hard for me to have those conversations. I actually really do love, we've talked about this. I have dads in my network and other parents in my network where God made them to be world-class experts in what they do. They go deep. I love those conversations. And that doesn't have to be chiropractic or the nervous system, but you better believe I can weave it in. I can say, oh, you're in finance, your brain has to work at, you got to have a superpower, AI sort of brain. Imagine if you were getting adjusted, how much that would optimize, your potential. So there is no conversation with me where chiropractic will not be woven in. I would use the word instantly.
I was going to say, I'll never forget when Christina came in and was talking about you guys were at the phone place, like getting you phones. And she was like, we were there for hours because you couldn't stop talking about chiropractic. And now she's coming in to get adjusted.
She did. She brought her kiddo in and it's getting his. Yeah, no. My first patients, I guess we can't say it on here, right? But the attorney, so we bought our building for the practice. And so I was sitting I can say Jeremy, I can say his first name. So I'm sitting across the desk from Jeremy. He's the junior attorney. So they're, this young guy's buying a building. He must have got the crap job and he's doing the closing on it. And within 10 minutes, we scheduled his wife who was pregnant and, had a rough pregnancy the first time. And so my very first patient was the attorney's wife and his family. Then we needed an accountant. Guess who came in? Mike and his wife and came in. The first person who came over to do like a what do you call it? For the coding and everything, right? To approve the office. Sure. Yeah, I can't. Now I'm totally. Christina does this stuff for me nowadays, so I don't even know what it is. Get occupancy from the city. She became a new patient. This is, I hadn't even started yet, and we were pre-scheduling these people.
It's a gift. It really is. Okay. If you could adjust any person in the world, past or present, who would it be?
Oh. Well, I want to give like my little kid answer, but I also want to give like a grown-up answer. So I'm going to push. Okay, I can do both. Kirby Puckett. So he was my childhood baseball playing idol. Kirby Puckett was a short, let's just say husky fella, okay, who played for my favorite team, the Minnesota Twins. And before I wanted to become a chiropractor, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, and I was pretty decent at it. And so Kirby he retired, he got sick, and we lost him way too early. He was not very healthy. And so I would have loved to adjust Kirby and still have him here on earth with us. And right now, for sure, without any shadow of a doubt, I would love to, we've been on this lately, right? I would love to adjust RFK Jr. And I do know some really cool things are happening in his life, but I would love to adjust him and be able to support him in his nervous system and then communicate. Because you get to learn your patients' lives and then they learn about what you do, right? It's a shared experience of improving lives. And so I would love to improve his life and all the lives that he is now connected to. And that's just a mathematical equation in my head, Morgan. It's like, who has the ability to impact and influence the most lives? I don't see anything other than that. I just see potential for good. I don't see the politics and everything else in anything. I never have. I don't have that lens of interpretation. But I do have the lens of impact.
We're calling it now, calling the shot. It's going to happen at some point.
Let's go.
All right. Transitioning away from chiropractic just a little bit. So there's one thing that our doc team has been trying to teach Dr. Tony for probably the last 2 months, I'd say. And if he gets this answer wrong, it's absolutely a reflection of him as a student and not our doc team as the teachers, which is in and of itself an example. But the question is, can you tell me what gaslighting is and or give me an example?
Like when I see it now, I can spot it, but that's different than teaching it, like walking up to the whiteboard and being like, all right, class, this is gaslighting. So it is when someone has created this truth that is absolutely not the truth, but they've sold everybody on the idea that it is entirely true. And if you don't believe it to be true, you are the problem, when actually the people making up the false truth are the problem. And they're gaslighting us.
That's it. I feel like that's probably the best answer you could probably get. I don't even think I could have given
blacked out there. I totally blacked out there for a second. That's
we are great teachers.
You are great teachers. And you must be great adjusters, because if you're not adjusting me well, then my nervous system isn't tuned in and I can't learn. So it's a two-way street.
I asked you before you got your adjustment that day.
For sure. I did get adjusted this morning.
Favorite vacation spot? Where are we going?
Anywhere and everywhere my beautiful family are. But what we love to do the most is we are like Naples, Florida was the one that was our go-to forever. But our kids were little, so Naples was cool. It was this old school beach hotel, Naples Beach Hotel. They tore it down to build an even fancier one. So it was like old school. It wasn't too fancy. And it just had the beach, the pool, and we would chill. My kids were little. But now I actually probably update that to the mountains in Tennessee. So we love, if we could have a pool to chill by, but as much as we love to chill, we love to hike. Just be out and be in nature. And so Eastern Tennessee, and then a little people watching in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. That's some fun. You can't find any healthy food per se. They're starting to, but yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna go there. We're gonna go Tennessee, Carolinas, just chilling down there.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah. I like it. Okay, getting to the farm boy from Iowa.
Let's go.
Do you have a favorite farm story? And in particular, someone asked you a favorite 4-H or FFA story.
Okay. Favorite farm story. Well, I got some that I think represent the same thing with farming. Number one is, my dad, so when you're in a tractor, which I spent, it's actually spring right now, right, as we're recording this. So I get jealous. This job I hated as a kid, because our tractors we didn't, like, AM radio barely came in. Nobody, and when you're going in field work, I did have a Discman. I will age myself there. I had a CD player Discman, but you can't use it in a tractor doing field work because you're bumping all the time. So all that to set the tone, you're literally just sitting in a tractor with nothing but your thoughts for hours and hours and hours. And so, but you also are on this highly expensive piece of equipment that could, like run over a telephone pole. So my dad would give me these charade. If you can just imagine a dad like drawing pictures in the dirt / flashing his hands, because you can't hear him, right? The tractors we had, this tractor I would spend most of my time in would be called the Screaming Eagle. That was my mom's nickname. It was too loud to hear anything. So my favorite story is my dad is standing like a quarter of a mile away, and I'm screaming towards him with this in the plow. And he's trying, I now know he was like giving me this loop to go around the telephone pole. And I'm trying to wave my hands and be like, that's a bad idea, buddy. I don't think I can navigate that at this speed. And this thing was a beast. So he got me so overwhelmed and so confused. I literally smacked that plow full speed right into the telephone pole. And it was just an absolute nightmare. But my other greatest, I was like, could have just.
Was there damage? Was there expensive farm equipment?
And there was a few choice words from my dad, but I was like, well, words would have helped first, like you could have just said, stop and talk this out. But he was really confident in his hand signals, Morgan. I don't know what else to say. Or he would
was confident, but you were receiving it on the other end.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, how did you not know what this counter torque is? And he would draw things in the dirt and be like, yeah, just plant it this way. And then, a couple of months later, he'd be like, you didn't do my drawing. I was like, we should have had a whiteboard. But the other one that shows, I've taught this to you guys, the doc team. My dad was a man of few words, but is a man of few words. Pure brilliance, though, and just so committed to his craft and his family. We would drive by. So we grew up in beans and corn. bean fields grow weeds. Weeds suck. Weeds are subluxation in this story because weeds choke out the plants, which are what you need to produce. So he would drive by. We would get on, depending on the weather, if it was raining, we would go in his truck. And if not, we would go on three-wheelers, which, yes, I survived an entire childhood on three-wheelers. And we would drive all of our property and all of our fields. And my dad I was like, why do we have to do this every single night? They're just plants. They're going to be fine. And he would say, you need to let the plants, so the good thing we're trying to produce, you need to let them know you care. And you need to let the weeds know you're watching. As if he was in, because we used to literally walk, this is before chemicals, before frickin' Roundup destroyed our health. We would walk up and down fields. That was my job. Bean walking. And you know how he took me with him? He would just point out the weed a quarter of a mile away. He didn't get off the three-wheeler or the four-wheeler to go pull the weed out of the field. He brought me along for the free manual labor. And so that's subluxations. I gotta let our patients know we care. We're always watching, and we gotta let, toxins and subluxations know we're watching too.
And you did the bean walk. I feel like that's a dance move. You could,
there's got to be
a dance move, the bean walk.
That does.
Which, for reference, Dr. Tony does break it down with some dance moves in our doc meetings as well.
That's how Christina, that is the real story. Back to that one. Christina spotted me and made the moves on me. And it was because, if you'd ask, right? It was because I was happy, I was smiling, and I was dancing. And that is how she tells it. I can't say anything other than the truth. So dance moves.
I believe you because I have heard that story before. So confirming. Okay. And then kind of going off of that, because I think it's related, but someone else asked, when and where do you get your best ideas? Like, where do they come from? And what are you doing?
Without a doubt, so we have, I'm looking out here at the home studio. And so God blessed us with this 20.5 acre, property. And it's just 15 minutes away from the clinic, which is amazing. And so we have, I don't even know what it is, 6, 7, 8 acres cleared now. And then all these trails where we can go hiking on our own and riding four-wheelers and everything else. And so I refuse to let a service mow. Probably the dumbest thing ever mathematically, 4 kids and everything else going on. It takes me hours, 5, 6 hours. Morgan, I know you love this. So we chatted about this. Being on the lawnmower, there's no Slacks, there's no emails, there's no Instagram messages. And so I just feel like I'm most connected to God and most connected to these ideas of like, okay, what could we do to make life better for millions of kids? And so Christina always jokes, she's like, she can tell when a download came, because I'll just be sitting out in the middle of the lawn and it'll stop. I've learned I don't like to take my phone with me, but I take notes, right? They can go in the notes app. I've tried to just take a notebook with me and write things down. But really just being out there, doing chores too, cleaning the barn, cleaning the pasture. I really don't take my phone or a device with me. And it's where all the best ideas come from.
Oh, I love it. I am also a grass cutting lover, and it just clears your head for sure.
Sense of pride too when you're all done. Nothing better. The smell of it, the look of it, let's go.
Totally. Which also leads in, you guys are asking some really great questions, audience. So this other one is favorite fun hobby you do with your kids. And I assume it would be on the farm, maybe, but maybe somewhere else.
We do. There's 2 seasons, right? There's winter, so we live in the Midwest here, you and I and many others. And so winter, we still love to go. We get out there. We, little tiny snowmobiles, sledding, and I'll go out there and just get after it with them. I love it. My kids actually love being outside in the winter almost more than in the summer. It's hard to get them to go in. So we do love being outside. The winter does bring you inside a little bit more though. I really do enjoy watching a movie, watching Bluey, or, playing board games with the kiddos. If I can just be with them, and whether it's outside playing and riding four-wheelers, or last night Elena took me on a golf cart cruise, she's like, can we play Benson Boone on the golf cart? I'm like, goodness gracious, yes, Benson Boone, cruising around. Yeah, those are the activities. We built this place to all be here together, no matter the season or no matter what we're doing. And it's just, it's the prayer is, it's the place they'll always want to come back to with their kids, right? And it'll just be home base for the family to come live here. You and your beautiful family have that, right, with the property. Yeah. And it's the best.
That is the best. It really is. Okay. Do you, because you talked about Bluey or watching something different, do you watch Netflix? And if so, what show? I don't think I've ever heard you talk about Netflix, so I'm curious.
There will be, okay, Rarely, but if I, oh gosh, do I really have to say this out loud?
Yes.
I do some of these. Okay. So, and I can't really explain this one. I just love them. So rarely, but I do sometimes like to just, I love sports. If I watch something, it's usually sports because it's so far outside of like everything else I do, but it's competitive. So I love it. It's a great, I get very invested in it. Christina like can't watch the Vikings or the Twins with me or Iowa State because I'm just so into it. Oliver's my man though. He's all in with me. He's quieter, but he's got me, so he doesn't have to be loud. But if I watch Netflix, I love, and I don't even know how to describe genres because I'm not like, but if the show has something to do with like 1400s and they're storming castles and they're taking over countries. I think there's one called like The Last Kingdom or something was on Netflix. Geez, I don't even remember the name. Medieval sort of stuff. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like if it was that and I needed to like have a castle and, you know, be in charge of a small snippet of a country, I feel like I could handle that. I feel like I'm pretty well for that. Yeah.
I think you could too. I was expecting like Yellowstone or something like that, but castle storming and medieval times sounds great.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to medieval times in Chicago?
What's that?
Have you ever been to medieval times?
Yes, and it's terrible / awesome at the same time. Yeah, and they're so right. They're so violent. They're so inappropriate, and they're so awful that I'm like watching these, and I'm like, this is not what a pediatric and family chiropractor should be watching. But maybe that's why, because it's so outside my realm of normalness, you know, as a dad, as a chiropractor. So it's rare, but those shows, they will hook me in. If there's a good one, listeners, if you know of one that I don't know of yet, you know, Peaky Blinders was pretty awesome. That's not necessarily castles. That's back in the Birmingham, London days back in the day. But those, evidently, if I wasn't a chiropractor, I'd be a gang leader or castle stormer. You know, would be. Who knew?
Your side job, storming castle.
Let's go storm this castle.
Oh, okay. Okay, so even this week at Monday's meeting, you used the phrase the whole kit and caboodle.
Oh, God.
And you asked me if it made you old. And my answer would be yes, it is going to make you old. But the question that I'm leading into is, what are some of your other favorite phrases to use? Or movie quotes that you use?
You know, gosh.
You can't.
I have definitely too many. I have so many and I make so much content and I'm talking all the time. I don't even know. I pick up, funny you should say, I definitely pick up other people's patterns, right? Like, you know, Dr. Jonah's or Dr. Matt's or different people that are in my life. I'm like, oh, that's how they say this all the time. I really love, you hear me say all the time, the only way to know is to go. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big debater. I can't stand sitting around and debating upon a decision. The only way you ever know whether something's going to work or not is to just freaking get it done. You know, like, let's stop talking, let's get after it. And so the only way to know is to go all in, or I'm a donkey owner, so I can say this word, and it's in the Bible too, whole ass. That's probably what I say a lot internally with our team. Like, you gotta whole ASS it. We refuse to half ASS anything. You know, if you're gonna get something from us, you're gonna get full effort. You know, all in is kind of the phrase of saying that. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Sometimes it is easier from the outsider perspective, like you were saying. And the one that comes to mind for me is you say party on, Wayne. Because I've actually never seen Wayne's World, but I just know party on, Wayne. Like when we're ready to go,
party on, guys.
Decided on something or moving on to the next. It's like, yeah, party on, Wayne.
I do. Oh, the other one. Let's go some movie references. All right, let's get our audience on this. You're a little too young. So the other one, I don't know what to do with my hands. Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights. We use that all the time. Major League Baseball player, Bob Ueckert. Major Charlie Sheen was in that one. Major League, the first one is such a good movie. When Bob Ueckert, Milwaukee guy, come on, you're more the Brewer, voice of the Brewers. He's the radio announcer for the Brewers, and so he just a bit outside. When somebody does something like. Yeah, and it was actually way outside. Willie Mays Hayes, that one's in there. Yeah, those movie references are freaking. Those 90s and 2000s movies. Those are the I tell my kids all the time, my teens, they're like, oh, we're going to go to this movie and it's a new one and it's going to be funny. I'm like, it's not going to be funny. It's not going to be funny. Not because they're going to try too hard to be funny. Back in the day, just stupid funny. Yeah, they was so much more laid back, don't try so hard, funny. And that's funny.
Well, when you say just a bit outside, I think we should use that for HRV when we're going for HRV scans. Just a bit outside.
My last
Just
HRV.
holding on to the edge. Yeah. Is that where your HRV was last? Let's talk about it.
At the end of winter.
You're saying it pushed you through to do too much content? Is that what you're saying?
Asana. Everybody will use Asana. If you have a project management software at your company, you know this. The thing that stresses your HRV is keeping up with those deadlines inside your project management. Slack, Asana, Monday.com, ClickUp, you name it. We've used them. But end of winter. I like to be outside, Morgan. I like to be on the farm, and I was just a bit outside on my HRV.
Got it. I like it. Okay, we're almost ready for rapid fire. Let me just see. Here's the last kind of deeper question.
Okay.
Well, I have one more for the end, but what is one important lesson you really want your kids to like learn and embody?
Oh, you know what? I probably have a sweet spot of a few things that I think when they have these couple of things and they install them together, that it's our core values, and we do have them, right? As a family, just like we have them for, other people call them companies. It's our missions. And so it's really, really first kind of the H's, like hardworking, humble, and helpful. Those, if you can just be helpful and you can just be always noticing that person needs help, let me help. That person needs help. And it's helpful without expectation of return, helping for the sake of helping. And that takes hard work. You got to be willing to always just kind of get up and do something extra to help somebody out with that. And then the other thing that I think is there is like, it is for sure God called us to impact down here. We are called to bring, and I'm not good. I'm good with bringing up neurological, the terms and connecting it to this. I wish I was better with bringing up certain, like when we interviewed Jordan Rubin or Dr. Josh Axe or Courtney, right? And they had these incredible life instilling concepts into their kids and their family. They were also bringing scripture. I can never be like Proverbs 13, next phase of life, I want to get there. But here's the ones I am most beholden to and we want to bring to our kids. Like, you're here because God chose you for a purpose. There is something inside of you that he put uniquely and infinitely, you got a full dose of it. You're unique in your design to God, and you have this superpower. And that superpower isn't to make a ton of money or do it. That superpower is to impact as many people, and just share as much good, share his word, share his good news, and do his good work down here. And he'll give you as however long you're going to get. That's our calling. That's our responsibility. And BT Dub, by the way, just in case you didn't know what BT Dub means, Dr. Morgan, it's the best life, being in service to others and impacting others' lives. Trust me, we are all designed by God to be in this way where like you do that for them. They want to give back sevenfold, right? They want to give back tenfold. And so you are, building yourself a wonderful life by making sure you're not ever putting yourself first as that. And we work on that a lot with the Ebo kiddos, and they are just, they are wonderful. They are.
They're so wonderful.
They are so.
Don't make me cry. I can't be crying on this.
I just think of it, like we are
onions in here.
Yeah. And I think it's God and it's chiropractic too, and it's these philosophies and these principles.
That's what
we do get to, everybody else is like, they're a toddler, that's going to be terrible. They're a teenager, that's going to be a terrible. I think it's like a health principle. Oh, we're just going to run into it eventually. Health is going to be terrible. Life's going to be hard. What if it's designed to be awesome? What if the teenage years are just designed to be different than the toddler years, but your relationship stays awesome and connected and purposeful and close and loving and silly and goofy and caring and everything else. And so your kids will go through seasons where you're like, I don't know that I'm doing well here. I'm like, you get down and you pray and you're like, well, tomorrow's a better day. Hopefully I can do my parenting job better tomorrow than I did today. But when I watch my kiddos, and they got a long ways to go yet, to get out into life and do this. But when I watch them outside of here with others, like when they interact with you guys at the office or other places, that's when you just see like, oh, they do have these values, they do. Because you can have them, but I'll shut up after this. You get to and got to live them out. They're written down somewhere on a friggin' cute Hobby Lobby board, in your dining room. Who cares? They got to come alive. And so that would be our final thing we teach our kids is like, live these out. I ask them every day before I drop them off. I ask them to go through an EBO core value, and then give me an example of how they could use it during the day. They roll their eyes at me massively, Dr. Morgan.
Well, thank you one day.
But I think one day.
But hey, when I interact with them, I see all of that for sure. And they're just incredible kids. And what you were talking about reminds me of how chiropractic ties in so much to that too, is like we get to see these kids when kids are sick, when they're unhealthy, when they are struggling, they don't get to live out their purpose. They don't even get to live out their day to day, And so to see those kids transform and then use that pain and turn it into such a purpose and just be a light in the world, like you can literally see the light come back into their eyes. That I get chills because that is just the coolest thing to see when we allow the body to work the way God designed it to. Then it's just everything is
and we got to put that on a hill. People ask, one of the questions we do get all the time is like, do you think your kids will be chiropractor, or which kid? And it's like, I sure hope, of course I hope one or whatever. But honestly, the chiropractic lifestyle, living this light out, living this way with these principles and this faith and this health, and this approach to life, it's not just for chiropractors or people that work in chiropractic offices. So I hope they take that into whatever, if they choose a different world, well, that world needs chiropractic. That world needs faith, and so I'm totally cool. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go 0 for 4. I really would love to get at least 1 for 4 on it. But
what do you think the one is going to be?
Elena.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, just caring, hugging. Loves to get adjusted. She'll get adjusted 75 times a week if I let her. Chiropractic, loves serving others. Just compassionate, relatable. I feel like she might do it.
What I do know is Tiny is going to be in charge of something, because we were just yesterday, I kid you not, we were all in the office and I was on the computer doing notes and I got the page like, Dr. Morgan, this room is ready for you. And she turns around in her chair and she looks me dead in the eye like, it's time, like you need to be going, like chop chop, they called you. I was like, yes ma'am, I am on it.
Her and Addison are Christina 2.0.
I love it.
Yeah, the two middle, they got a little bit more. Oliver and Elena have a little bit more of my personality, a little messier, a little disorganized, a little chaotic. So we're mapped out. There's three keep this ship together people, and there's 3 like, let's tear this thing apart and have some fun people, for sure.
Totally. All right. We are 37-ish minutes in. That's okay. We're going to do rapid fire really quick towards the end. Yeah, so just first thought, but some of them I think might be hard. I don't know. We'll find out.
I love that.
My first one was going to be coffee or tea, but I think anybody knows it's going to be coffee. I can't even imagine you drinking tea.
No.
We're going to substitute coffee or tea for beer or Paloma when you are relaxing on the weekend.
Oh,
Paloma. Paloma, okay.
Paloma.
That's grapefruit, right? Paloma?
Yeah. I'm too old for beer anymore. Yeah.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Casey's Taco Pizza or Smash Burgers?
Casey's Taco Pizza. It's legend.
Really? Over Smash Burgers?
Yeah, absolutely.
On the griddle? On the homemade?
No, I mean, those are good. But Casey's Taco Pizza is just thing that legends are made of. And if you're not out from the Midwest and you don't know that you can get the greatest pizza ever from a gas station, just experience it once in your life and you'll come back to this and go, that man knows what he's talking about. Casey's breakfast pizza.
I still have yet to try it.
Actually, all of them.
I'll let you know.
Yep.
Okay, donkeys or goats?
Donkeys, they're so awesome. They're so sweet, but yet stubborn. They just have this edge to you. Like if you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to kick you right in the head. I like that. It's a good challenge.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You have 2 of them, right?
2. Yep. Clementine and Molly, my homies.
Cute. Reading books or listening to podcasts?
Reading books still. Reading.
Yeah, that's your go-to.
Yep. I can highlight it. I can take notes. I can draw on the margins. Yep.
Okay. Is Christina more of a podcast person then?
She is big time. And then even books, she switched over to audiobooks more so than reading.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least for like leadership and everything else, she loves for her brain, her Netflix medieval time show would just be like reading fiction books. I cannot read a fiction book. I have tried. We'll be on vacation and I'll be like, oh, I'm supposed to take it easy. I shouldn't read this neurology textbook or this leadership textbook or whatever. So I'll like stop in the airport. I'll overpay for some stupid John Grisham book or something. I'll read like 2 pages and I'll be like, I can't, because like I know it's not true. And I'm like, you just made this up and it's not even that good. I have enough stories in my own head. I can make stuff.
True. Very true. Oh, okay. Chocolate or vanilla?
Cake, or what are we doing here?
I don't know. That's ice cream?
If we're caking it, vanilla. All across the board. If it was chocolate, though, it would have to be dark chocolate. My kids don't like dark chocolate. They love milk chocolate only, and that's weird. That I didn't have anything to do with. That's not my fault.
Okay, it's not from your side. Road trip or fly?
Fly. I want to get there, get after it, and chill. But road trips are fun. They're both awesome.
Call or text?
I will never talk to anybody on the phone for the rest of my life if I don't have to. Text.
Okay. And then last one, and for reference to the audience, these are 2 different types of what we call adjustments for kids. We just name them different things for kids. But there's a pretzel adjustment or the ice cream scoop. Go.
Ice cream scoop.
I knew it. You and the thoracics. You just want to clear those out right away.
Tony T2. T2 Tony. Yep.
Okay. And then very last one. And actually, before we get to the last one, I would say be sure to check out our Instagram because we have some really fun blooper reels of Dr. Tony's podcasting that are coming out. I mean, when this comes out, probably around the same time. So head over to @PXDocs to laugh at Dr. Tony's blooper.
Chris won't show them to me either. I was like,
he won't?
He won't show it to me because I was like, dude, I'll take you golfing. Like, what do you? He loves, speaking of chocolate, dark chocolate and peanut butter. I know what sandwich he likes. He works in the studio, right? Chris is our podcast producer, editor, video rockstar. I'm like, Chris, I know all your favorite. I tried everything, Morgan, to be like, show me these, and he's like, nope, holding it down.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you'll be seeing it at the same time everybody else does.
Sure will.
I have seen them multiple times because I rewatch them and I laugh every time. So I'm excited for those to come out. But the last question is kind of deep, kind of emotional, but I know how important it is to you and how much it's meant to this whole mission. So the question is, what's something so you've talked about your miracle man, Oliver, NICU, supposed to have all these diagnoses, but thriving teenager kicking butt on the cross-country field. What is something that Oliver and his story and his experience has taught you about life and healing?
I think to actually expect it.
Yeah.
Like if you watch him, I don't know that I've ever said that before or thought that before, but that's the season I'm in with what he's taught me is like, this is how the nervous system works, but this is how God works. Like, Oliver has such in a best of ways, he knows, he is aware of him being a miracle. And so I know he doesn't take it lightly, but he also doesn't get consumed. It's just him. It's just his life, it's just what he knows. And I just want so many more families to know that. I just want so many more families to expect that. And when you expect that, you get excited for that. You go towards that and you get to experience that, right? And that's our podcast, is the Experience Miracles podcast. And that's this platform. And I think what's so cool, it's even, remember that very first interview, our other podcast for chiropractors with Dr. Doug, Swanson, he takes care of a lot of tough kids too. And he's a real good friend of mine. He's a real kingdom driven, another dad. He's got 4 girls, and we were just chatting. He said, you can take the toughest of kids and families and they can bend through all of it. But if you just say the right words and you make the right adjustments, they are programmed and designed by God to move back towards health and happiness and joy and fulfillment. And so what Oliver teaches me is to expect joy, expect health, and expect life to be awesome, because it sure is.
Oh, I love that. It really is. It just also speaks into why hope and leading other people's stories of hope is so important, and expecting that. Otherwise, you're just stuck where you're at. But hope is really the catalyst to getting to that next spot.
Yeah. And we can all get there, and we can all get back there, but we need God, we need a guide, we need a community, we need our health. There's things that bring us there, back to that and get us to experience that. So if we just make those our most important things that we stay connected to and glued into, and that's why we on here will never not talk about we are designed for health. We'll never not talk about, where health and where everything comes from. We'll never not talk about the nervous system and the steps to get there. And we'll never be quiet about these stories either. If anything, we could probably say we should tell more stories, and infuse more of those into it, because it is those things. It's that list of things that we all need. We all need a lot of them. And the tougher life gets, the more of them you need. The more you got to lean into prayer. I remember specifically, there was 2 things when Oliver was sick that I did. 2 things entirely. In it, one, I was family. Christine and I were just a locked in force to get our baby out of there. But I don't know if it was 50-50. Today, it feels like it probably was. It was 50% praying and 50% researching and studying. 50% figuring out, what can I do to help? And 50% just praying to God to reveal that, show me that, send me that podcast, reveal that book, tell me who to call, and praying for the path, not just praying for the answers that lead to action steps, not just praying for the spontaneous, here you go. That's how we pray. Like, hey, God, I know you called us to it. We'll do the work. We'll take the action. But could you shine the light? Could you reveal the path? Could you send me the guide? Could you send me the mentor? Could you send me the doctor? That's always been our prayer.
That is awesome. I love that. Faith plus action.
Yes, ma'am.
Equals the right action, obviously. Miracles.
Miracles.
Awesome. Well, you survived. What's bad? You're not sweating anymore. I feel like
now I want to eat Casey's breakfast pizza, and go on vacation. That's
the grass. You cut the grass because it's spring.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, thanks for putting up with our shenanigans to put you in the hot seat.
100 episodes. We made it, huh? We're doing it. And we are just, everybody listening in, like, we're actually just figuring, okay, we have an amazing Dr. Morgan, full credit to you before we sign off. This podcast is absolutely bussin'. That's a teen term, because this rock star just makes it happen. You did all the research. You did all the pre-planning. You continue to do it every week. You keep me organized and hitting deadlines. That is no small feat. We got to turn this around and ask you questions like, how the heck do you do that? But everybody, shout out to Dr. Morgan, to Chris, to our whole PX Docs team, because it feels like we've been blessed to have great mentors that helped us get to this point of knowing what we're doing, but it also feels like we're just figuring out and finding our stride, doesn't it?
Right, yeah, exactly, yep.
We're ready.
Lots more good stuff to come. And keep your questions coming for clinical questions. How can we help? How can we best serve you and answer the questions that you guys have to help your kids?
And keep your connections coming. We're coming for we're coming for Mr. Rogan. We're coming for Dr. Huberman. We're coming for all those. If you've got connections to get this message out with us and for us, let's do it. God bless y'all.